Welcome back to my channel. My name is Andromedus, and today we're going to talk about equipment. Alright, now with on a on a budget, we are limited to obviously the amount of money that we can spend on stuff. So if you are comfortable or if you're okay with just using your coffee pot, your automatic coffee maker, then I'm not going to judge you for it. And you shouldn't let anybody judge you for it either. But you lose a certain amount of control with it. It's convenient, and generally speaking, they're cheap, or used to be. I haven't bought a coffee maker in a while, so I don't know. But the last time I bought a coffee maker, about 15 bucks or so, at like a Dollar General or something like that. Like I said, you lose a lot of control. And what I mean by that is when you're making coffee, you want to be able to control how much of the grounds are saturated in water. For what's called a bloom process, and it's where it outputs some of the gas and it causes your coffee not to be so bitter. And you lose the ability to control how much water you're pouring at any given time because it does it by itself. Depending on what method you're doing, some people like to do a 30-second bloom where they saturate it and then let it sit for 30 seconds. And then they do like another 100 or whatever, another 100 grams of water, or another 100 milliliters of water, and then they stop and let it sit for about 30 seconds, and they do it again until they've reached their desired amount of water. Also, you got the thing where if you can't afford the more expensive ones that have the automatic shut-off, or the timer's on, and it just got an on and off switch, then you run the risk of burning the last little bit of coffee that you got, and including the fact that, in my opinion, the longer the coffee sits there on the burner, even if it's just a warmer, I'm not talking about just like a full heating while the coffee's heating, whatever. If it's just a warmer, the coffee gets more, most people call it stout. To me, it gets more bitter. You lose a lot of the notes, the flavors that you taste in the coffees that you're going to be getting. And it's just not good. And then, like I said, you end up, if you don't care for it, then you end up wasting coffee that's left at the bottom or near the end of it. Or it just gets really, really burnt taste. So my suggestion is, and here's going to be the equipment list. Starting on a budget, if you can afford it, and I don't mean you have to go out and buy it right now, but when you can afford it, you want to look at a few things. Either you got pour over, you got French press, you got what's called a mocha pot, and then you have the typical, which it's now getting close to winter time. Me, I could drink it all the time. You can do cold brew stuff. With cold brew coffee, you don't need much more expensive equipment because you should. I mean, you more than likely have a 1 gallon pitcher sitting around the house anyway. And that's all you need for a cold brew coffee. There's no special equipment you gotta have with it or anything like that. So those are the main ones. There's other ones and they can get really expensive, but like I picked up it's like a Chemex style, and basically it funnels, it's like a funnel to a certain point, and then it bells out at the bottom a little bit, and then you have a basket that sits on top. And sometimes they come with mesh baskets. I still use a filter in those anyway because it's much easier. I think that one was like 20 bucks or whatever for it, but it's glass and it's really durable, and it does the job that I want it to do. You also can pick up for about 8 or 9 bucks. You can pick up something that's kind of similar, but instead of having that bottom part of it, you just set it on top of your coffee pot, and it does, or your coffee cup, and it does the same thing. It has like a little funnel thing, and then you put your filter on top and your grounds and whatnot, and go from there. You have French press, which is basically, it's like a fancy looking pitcher, but the difference is you put your grounds in there, you pour your water in. I won't go through the process right now. You let it sit for about 4 minutes, and then you slowly plunge it down, and that's called a French press. and I'll get into the cons of each one of these in here in a little bit. Then you have the mocha pot. The mocha pot, for somebody who's on a budget, is about the closest that you can get to doing, getting the, what's the word I'm looking for? Espresso. That's the closest, just about the closest you can get to an espresso taste that some people like drinking. And what you do with that is you do the same thing. You have a little container at the bottom that you unscrew. You pour your, I think here, hopefully I don't get this wrong. I believe, yeah, you pour your water in that. And then you have, the top part has a little thing that sits in it that you put your coffee in. And you sit on like a burner or a stove, and you let it heat up, and it sucks the water up, because that's the way science works with water. The heated water rises up, overflows, and it makes your coffee. Could be wrong. I think both of the water and the coffee goes in the bottom one. But anyway, it's been a little bit. But anyway, yeah. But that's the cheapest route you can go. You can pick one of those up for about another $15, $20 or whatever. And that's the closest you can get to an espresso on a budget. Now the cons. I am lazy. If I make something like a French press, a mocha pot, or cold brew coffee, then I completely forget about the grounds and throw them away. Because most of the other two, the mocha pot and the French press, I mean, you have to wait till it cools down before you can do anything with it. And because of the nature of what they are, I don't really like the taste of it too much, because it does get a little bit of fines, the little small bits of grounds in it. Makes it, some say it adds texture. Not me, I don't like it. So I don't do it that often, so I end up letting those two sit and it goes bad or whatever. Like I said, I'm lazy. With the pour over, then all I gotta do with that is basically, once I'm done, I sit it in something else, and with the one that goes on the cup, that's one I use the most often. I just sit in like in a bowl or something like that, and then go back later and throw the grounds out. But I use paper filter because, again, I don't, without the filter, even with the mesh does a decent enough job, and if you're okay with that, that's fine. If you don't mind the cleanup, that's fine. But the paper filter allows the cleanup. It makes it so much easier, and you just take paper filter with the grounds and toss them wherever you compost or garbage or whichever one you do or whatever. Now with the cold brew, most people think about that as being like a summertime thing. I run hot naturally year round, no matter how cold it gets. So cold brew is not something that to me is a summertime or wintertime drink. It doesn't matter to me. I'll drink it any time of the year. But again, it's something that's a little bit messy, because you end up using a lot of grounds. You got it in the bottom of your pitcher, and after you pour it, again, I won't go through the process of it. But, once you go through the process of pouring the water or the coffee out of it, you have all the grounds left in there, and it's just a beast to clean out sometimes. What I usually end up doing, because I don't have a garbage disposal, so what I end up doing usually is going out back and going to the outside water faucet and running water in there like that, and then dumping it out in the woods. But it's still a hassle. It's just, and plus I'm still working out the details on getting it close to where I like it as far as flavor goes. The other downside of cold brew coffee is the fact you do use more ground coffee than what you would in a regular cup of coffee. I think it balances out, because you're technically making a slightly concentrated coffee, which if you add water and ice or milk and ice or whatever, then you're going back up to the amount that you need. So yeah, that's pretty much it on those. I would suggest also having, if you go with anything other than automatic coffee maker, I would suggest getting a brush to help you clean out some things. You can get a toothbrush if you want. A toothbrush is really good on cleaning a lot of things, including a grinder. It works really good on cleaning the grinder. And my mom used to use, and this is for the automatic coffee maker too. My mom used to use white vinegar to clean the coffee pot. You can do the same thing with your other equipment too if you want to. Most of those are really easy to clean. Another thing you want to think about getting, possibly, again, it's another 20 bucks or so, is if you're not using an automatic coffee maker, is you want to get an electric tea kettle. You can get some cheaper than that. You can put on a burner. It's a little bit harder to control the water temperature on it, whereas a basic electric tea kettle, it just cuts off once it hits the boiling point. If you can afford it, you can get one that has a temperature thing on there. You can set the temperature on, so it don't hit too high of a temperature, because you don't want too hot of water to do your coffee in, because it doesn't do as well. So yeah, I think that covers it for this week. There's a lot more options out there that you can go with. One of the benefits to doing anything but the coffee maker is if for some reason you have a power outage for any length of time. With the coffee maker, you're so dependent on that power being on in order to use it. Whereas if you have like a pour over or something like that, then you can get a pot, put it on some, make a fire outside or whatever, put it on a pot, never do it inside, follow proper fire procedures, whatever, make sure there's no leaves and stuff that can be burnt in a certain radius around the fire pit or whatever. But you can put it outside and you can boil your water that way and then make your coffee even while the power is off. So there's a lot of benefits to it. Yeah, that pretty much does it. So we'll see you in the next video, and hope y'all have a good one. Peace.